Hang in
Dude,
there. It is.
that Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. Coming off, Smylie, the first FedEx Cup playoff event. You just had a nice little 3.5 hour drive from Memphis to Birmingham to really ruminate on the day's events. And there were lots of them. We got a whole bunch of stuff to cover. Really excited to dig into it, get your on-the-ground perspective, Smylie. But we got to start with our friends at Ahead as they are presenting today's episode. Ahead is a strategic partner for enterprise clients, helping them navigate the path towards digital transformation, much like an expert caddy, reading the course ahead and providing the winning combination of technology and execution. You can learn more at ahead.com. Smylie, we talked about this off air. We feel like the best way to make sure we don't miss anything is by detailing this day in chronological order. But the place I got to start first is I'd just love to hear your headliner thoughts on the way that Justin Rose and JJ Spaun emerged from a leaderboard where you've got big names like Scottie Scheffler or Tommy Fleetwood trying to win his first tour event. You know, Cam Young having incredible, I think he shoots 64 on Sunday. But it's those two guys who make it into the playoff. And just how cool was it both to, just to the way they played and kind of, I guess now they're not sneaking up on anybody. I mean, Justin Rose had an amazing career. JJ Spawn's a major winner. But, guys that maybe aren't at the top of the list of thinking that they're going to win a playoff event. So both that and also just the way they competed in that playoff, I thought it was just so cool to see. They're both trying to win this deal, but they're also having mutual respect for each other, kind of tipping the cap, talking in the fairway. So let's maybe start with the big picture on that and then rewind and go through the entire day.
Yeah, after that 3.5 hour drive, I think I finally have cooled off. It was just absolutely insanely hot.
God bless it.
I've never had the AC on the lowest setting and high blast for as long as I did. It was a good 2 hours of that, just trying to cool off. I'm telling you, it was that steamy out there today. And for those guys that continued on in the playoff, I mean, I can't imagine how tired they are tonight. But it was an incredible day. And to kind of just headline it, I guess I would say, is that JJ and Justin were the two guys who I felt like were going to play well today. Although I felt like the storylines were with the other two guys. I felt like Tommy Fleetwood winning for the first time in the PGA Tour, and then Scottie Scheffler, of course, with his friend Brad Payne driving in the night before to caddy for him. Those were the two big storylines heading into today. And then Justin Rose and JJ Spaun had incredible days.
Kind of flip the script on us. You mentioned Scottie's one-day bag man, although people remember Brad also carried for Scottie for a planned absence at the PGA Championship of Valhalla last year. So let's start there. When did you get this Ted Scott news, and what was your reaction at that point in time?
Well, it was, let's see, it was probably around 9 o'clock, just saying, hey, need you to get into the trucks to kind of talk about how we're going to handle the Ted Scott situation. I, of course, didn't know anything about it, but I wanted to make sure that I got in there in enough time to make sure that I was up to date. All I had heard was that Ted had left last night to get home for a family emergency, and our thoughts and prayers are with Ted's family for whatever's going on, and that everybody comes out healthy in whatever the situation is. So first off, prayers sent out to them, and then just that Brad Payne was going to be caddying, and so my first question was, well, how bad is it, and is Scottie going to play? And so that was my first question, but everybody that I had heard said that Scottie's in good spirits, ready to go play today. So it was business as usual. And of course, was bummed not to see Teddy out there, but Scottie definitely made him proud today for sure.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Of just where anytime you see the family situation and it's a very private matter, all you can do is just hope and pray for the best. And our thoughts go out to Ted Scott. So your assignment then is it's that second to last group: Scottie Scheffler, JJ Spaun. So not to kind of belabor the point, but obviously you have a different voice on the bag. It's a different type of conversation. I feel like a lot of that decision making probably goes more so on Scottie instead of Ted guiding him. Did he seem impacted like in a more of a golf decision making sense by Ted's absence? And to kind of play it forward throughout the day, how does Scottie, the number 1 player in the world, miss out on this playoff on a day where he grabbed a share of that lead very early?
Well, it was right from the get-go. It was just the classic thing that happens when, just things are already off kilter for the day, when things aren't quite normal. You got a friend caddying for you. On the first hole, there's a big butterfly that just flies right through as Scottie Scheffler is taking his downswing to hit this wedge shot into the first hole. And I asked Scottie after I think this is on 2 green when JJ's getting a ruling. First off, I said, hey, do I need to go get a butterfly net for your bag, man? And they both laughed. And he's like, no, you wouldn't believe it. We got to our ball at 2, and then there's another butterfly at our ball. But it was crazy. He said, I was so lucky to make good contact because the butterfly literally came in his peripheral vision and just like went in and out. I mean, it was out of there quickly, and they were both just, laughing so hard at just like, what just
so
happened?
bizarre, so bizarre. Although I'll say, like, this is a complete departure from this tournament, but I think I have a family of gnats that is like waiting for me to step onto the golf course, and they just like travel around with me for 18 holes. And then I leave, and they go to wherever they live, and they wait for me to come back. Like, it's that time of year where in the South, I can't escape them.
Somebody recommend a good bug spray for my guy.
Yeah, like, or maybe I should wear like a beekeeper suit that vents well. Anyway, yeah, the butterfly, that's a new one. I've not really ever had to deal with or seen that. So an odd way to start the day. But then he kind of, he was right there the whole way until we get to this closing stretch where everything happens on 4 holes. Like, you watch JJ birdie 16, 17, Justin Rose group behind you, birdies 4 holes in a row. I mean, everything just starts happening all at the same time.
Yeah, I'll take you even back. I'll stick on the front 9 here a little bit, just because just to kind of build you up to the crescendo with just how the day started too in the group. JJ Spaun chipped in at the first hole. A lot of people probably didn't even see that to begin the day, but that was just such a tone setter from my perspective that JJ was didn't hit the best iron shot to the first hole, but still to get up there, chip it in, playing with Scottie. It's a big pairing. JJ's been in a ton of big situations before, but Sunday playing with Scottie, he was like, you're going to be feeling your nerves in the first hole. And he had a chip shot that I felt like was one that was totally puttable. And I talked to his coach, Josh Gregory, right off the green. I was like, well, that was a great start. He's a short game coach. He's like, you know what? That is something that he would have putt last year. But now he's got more and more confidence around the greens to where he's actually thinking about holing these shots now. So that I found that interesting. That's interesting to me on a number of levels. We've had a lot of players come on this show and talk about the specifics of what they're working on. I'm sure you shared some of those details with Josh. Is there something specifically that he's done different when he's chipping, pitching the ball that's made this huge impact for him? Well, the technique wise, just to golf nerd it out with you.
Yeah, let's go.
He's too cutty. Like he had been too cutty to where he wasn't very great at releasing the club head, and he feels everything chipping with his left hand. And the best comparison that he gave was like, this is kind of how Patrick Reed feels the club head. A lot of people feel it with their right hand to use the bounce and throw the club head. And JJ's big problem with his pitching was that he would get super long, like a very long backswing, and then cut across it. And so you can get away with that.
Cut steep or just kind of,
just cut across it. So just not keeping the ball in the face long enough. So it's just kind of, riding up the face. Like the only time he really struggled out of the rough in his chipping for the most part. If the ball was suspended in the rough, like halfway up or sitting well up, he didn't have a go-to shot there. It was just a chop down guess. So really he was lacking a lot of different shots around the greens. So I think this is helping him being able to kind of diversify his portfolio, if you will.
Well, is that, and this is like one of the big debates in the game of golf. You have like the Joe Mayo school of like steep and spin loft, and that does feel a little more cutty. But then there's the school of thought that's like deliberate more inside. Is he kind of delivering it on more of a shallow plane and more inside instead of trying to cut across it? I
wouldn't say plane is probably the best way to maybe go about what exactly he's working on. I think he's feeling more things like from impact through. He's trying to feel more rotation through the shot to feel like the club head and the ball are on each other for a very long time. So people that are not very good pitchers of the golf ball, the ball just jumps off the face really quickly. Right. You want to try to keep the ball in the face as long as you can. So the more rotation through the shot and letting that club head also release as well. That's virtually what they're working on, along with, I'm sure there's some setup stuff. I think when he gets in the rough, he moves the ball a little bit more back. And I guess if you had to measure exactly what he, because it's tough, because if you're somebody who's cutting across it too much, you would think, oh, well, you're too steep. You need to get more shallow.
Right.
I'm sure there's things that they did in setup to maybe help him feel a little bit more shallow, but probably has enough of a steep setup to where he can maybe feel those shallow feels.
Interesting. Adding it to my long list of short game thoughts. Like a lot of people watch YouTube videos for their golf. This is like one long YouTube video here on the Smylie Show where I go out and try all sorts of things. It's like a Grateful Dead song, just like the extended jam session of Smylie shows short game thoughts that I can go try out. Okay, so take us fast forward us. Yeah. Okay, to wherever you want to pick back up here.
So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about Scottie's front nine, and just what he was accomplishing on the front. It was so good. He had every single fairway on the front nine, and just had the only missed shot that he had was on the 5th hole. He had a 7-iron right at the green, doesn't get it up and down.
Yeah, but
other than that, it was virtually, it felt like a flawless ball striking performance on the front nine. He had hit 50% of his fairways pretty much for the entire week, and he had started out the round hitting every single fairway till the 12th hole, and he missed the 12th and the 15th fairway, and that's, I believe, all he missed. Just absolutely put on a stripe show off the tee today, and so he was giving himself good look after good look, and he missed about a 6-footer on the 6th hole for birdie, coming off of a bogey at the 5th, makes a great birdie at 7, misses a putt from inside of 10 feet at the 8th hole and the 9th hole. So we're talking about like 4 strokes there. When we talk about, all right, how did Scottie not get in this playoff? It's like he had plenty of opportunities in that stretch of holes. I don't think he was hitting necessarily bad putts. They were just in that range that weren't gimmies. I think the putt he'd went back is the birdie putt he had at 6 that he missed. Yeah. But the other ones, I mean, they're, from 8 to 12 feet. Those aren't putts you're supposed to make, every single time. You'd like to make more than you miss, but today it felt like he just didn't make enough of them.
Well, like 8 foot's that PGA Tour break even mark, right? And I just was curious to pull up the stats. 58th in a field of 70 today in strokes gained putting. I'm trying to remember, because I know they've had a couple different iterations of this. Is the current working relationship between Ted and Scottie is that Scottie does all the reading and only calls in Ted when he needs help?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe you don't attribute as much of that on reads to Ted's absence, but I don't know, potentially a factor, I guess.
Yeah, he was. Brad Bain was not reading putts today. He came to me on the 17th behind the green and just like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? He's like, I would have putted
going on over here.
He was like, he basically had said like, I would have putted this thing a long time ago. I was like, man, I love that. I love your vibe right now.
That's so good. That's so good. So obviously has opportunities, could have taken it deeper, but that's the story of Scottie, since we've started the show, right? Is like, if he putts, latter half of the field, below average, if you want to call it that, he should be right around top 5, ends up shot off the playoff. So, to pick it back up wherever you'd like to with the JJ Scottie group.
Well, let's see. We go to the back nine with JJ making birdies on 8 and 9. And so all of a sudden the momentum in this group is it feels like these two are going to be the guys that the group behind is going to be chasing. So yes, I'm getting a pep in my step. They both hit the fairway at 10 and Scottie makes birdie at 10. We go to 11 and Scottie just barely graces the edge on the 11th putt. But then 12 was interesting too. This is the first time I felt like that Scottie maybe would have missed Ted today. At that point, it didn't matter who was carrying Scottie's bag because it was just so point and shoot. He was hitting it so well and really was putting it fine, just not getting anything to go in. But 12, he misses it left and some fiery rough over there. When you miss the fairway 12, it just becomes kind of chaotic trying to figure out how to get the ball on the green, and caught a terrible break, lands in the bunker, rolls up against the lip, comes back into his divot. So now he's in this half plug lie and then gets it up and down. And so I'm all of a sudden thinking, all right, here's Scottie. There he goes again.
Here he goes.
And meanwhile, I'll have to say this, because when he gets to 13, he hits a shot just left of the flagstick. He was addicted today to trying to fit the golf ball between the edge of the green and the flagstick. And what I mean by that is if the pin was on the left side and there was 4 yards left of the pin, he's like, hold my beer. I'm going to get this in between the edge of the green and the flag. And he did that. It seemed like a stretch of like 7 straight holes. I'm like, how does he keep doing this?
Well, I mean, and obviously he keeps doing it because he's the best iron player in the world right now. But I'm even curious there if that is partially a not having Ted there type of thing. Like if you pull it off, right, it's a much, it should be a more makeable putt because you took on the risk and hit it on the short side of the room of the green and have less room, of course, to make that birdie putt. But it feels like you've talked about this on the show before, is like the thing he's so monotonously good at is hitting it, to 12 feet on the fat side of the green. And if he misses either way, it's not going to, he's always going to hit the green in regulation. So, I mean, to your point, like he pulled it off a lot, but do you think some of that, selecting a target, if Ted's there, it goes a little bit differently?
I think the greens were just receptive enough from the fairways today that I didn't mind the aggressive play. So really didn't. And Scottie didn't cash the putt on 13. That was another one I felt like he could have made too. So when we get to the 14th hole, this is where the golf tournament starts. When you get to that par 3, it's such a difficult shot. and Scottie hits a safe shot, pin high left with a 6-iron. And then this is where JJ enters the fray again and hits this like slice 5-iron. That was just, I mean, it curved probably a good, 30, 40 feet, almost flies in the hole. And it was just a crazy shot because nobody would ever really try to hit that type of slider. Maybe Morikawa. That would be the person to probably compare it to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then, and tell me if I'm going too far here, but as we kind of advance the final 3 holes for this group, we can come back and talk about Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood. You get birdies from JJ on 16 and 17. And then very importantly, hits his approach on 18 to 30 feet on the right side of the green. And that is going to be a recurring theme we get to there. Narrowly misses that putt, but that was a good teach.
Definitely was. He had a great putt on 18, but he really hit a fantastic putt on 17. If I recall, we were in a double box, and that was the putt really to solidify his chances to feel like playoff at worst. It seemed like what the guys were doing from behind. Especially if he played 18 well, which he did. Yeah. So JJ, after he hit that putt, I thought it was in. I thought he was about to post 17 under and win the thing, and I would have been home an hour ago. but of course, that seemed to be the theme on the 18th hole. But I was listening in my ear for the most of the day with Justin and Tommy, and it seemed like on the front nine that both guys just seemed like they were a little bit kind of stuck in neutral at times. Yeah. A couple bad tee shots, maybe a couple loose swings. Is that kind of what you observed?
It was, and it was, I was with a friend. It was, we were kind of in and out at a certain point where we were watching the tournament, and we left and we came back and we're like, how the heck did Justin Rose, like I thought we heard on the broadcast, he made a couple of bogeys and he's pretty much out of the coverage. And then, you come back and it's like 4 birdies in a row, 14, 15, 16, 17. Meanwhile, Tommy Fleetwood makes bogey at 17. We are going to have the Tommy Fleetwood discussion a little bit later in the show because he comes to 18 needing a birdie, finds fairway bunker on that tee shot, and just a really tough, sort of approach shot he's got to hit there that he hits long right. But I mean, that to me was, you have JJ posting 16 and Scottie posting 15. So Scottie's now out. And Justin Rose comes to that tee at 16 under. And I just, we'll get to the Tommy piece of it, but it was, that rapid succession of lots of birdies being made. Even Scottie birdied 16 and 18, correct?
Yes.
It's like he was in the mix there. I mean, but it's just, the way all this came together to the two guys in the playoffs was just wild.
Well, yeah. So Justin Rose, I'm just looking at his scorecard. He was 1 over through 13 holes today.
Yeah.
I mean, just out of it.
Stuck in neutral, to your point, or even worse than neutral, a little semi-reverse.
I'm seeing how close he hit it on 14. Looks like he hit it to about something around 15 or so feet, pin high left, and that's and then probably hits a fairway 15, stuffs. 15 is an easy birdie today with that whole location. If you hit the fairway, 16's a fairly. It was a very difficult pin, but the easiest hole in the golf course, one that you're supposed to birdie. But then the putt he made on 17, Rosie, my goodness, and the 2-shot swing too, because this is what I didn't get a chance to see, but I wanted to hear your opinion if you were watching. Was Tommy's second shot at 17 being in the right side of the fairway with the right pin, with overhanging trees on the right, not being able to – he talked about it after with David, saying it was an awkward shot, a little bit of mud on the ball. Seemed like in that situation, you can't walk away making bogey, hitting that fairway. Even if you have mud on the golf ball, you've got to find a way to make that golf ball curve left to right and give yourself 30 feet, walk out of with 4 at worst. I know the up and down was one he wants back, but – you can't make 5 there.
There was a lot of times I'm sure you heard spent on the broadcast of like the deliberation going into that shot, talking about the type of, cut 7-iron there he was going to try to hit there and how he was going to kind of make, try to your point, at least save par there. I think this is the story of so many of these Tommy Fleetwood Sundays. And as we kind of get further on, I think the question I want to ask you is, how much of this are you chalking up to I'm not calling him a choke artist, but like giving the tournament away versus just getting outplayed by a lot of guys. It's got to be really tough to be stuck where you are making that bogey on 17. Meanwhile, watching your compatriot over there rip off 4 birdies in a row, and that's going to add a lot of pressure. And in that instance, he really just did get outplayed.
Well, you got to give him credit for, in the middle of the round, he steadied the ship. It's kind of similar to what he did at the Travelers. He actually, he found some light to where it felt like, he didn't just, lay down and give up. He showed a lot of fight. He made 4 straight threes in the middle of his back 9, but you got to find a way if you hit the fairway to make birdie at 16, and then what Justin Rose did. And then when you hit the fairway at 17, that's the hard part. And you have a wind direction that's favorable to that whole location. Right. That's a shot that has to be pulled off. And standing in that fairway a couple different times today and seeing, how aggressive players were playing, even with the tree problems that some guys did have. And sure, maybe the mud was a factor, but I still – that's the one you have to look back at and figure out, man, I've got to figure out a way to pull that shot off.
How was the win today relative to the rest of the week? Because I felt like, and this is anecdotally, but like all the parts of the coverage I tuned into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was just watching a lot of inexplicable misses with, even short irons, wedges in hand. It looked pretty diabolical out there trying to judge that properly and guys stepping off shots. I think it was probably this morning where you were with Denny and Denny played with Jordan, right? Yep. And there was one and he stuffed the shot, but it's just frustrating where you keep having to try to do a little bit of guesswork. Was that a large factor today relative to the rest of the week?
The wind was hot. That's where I'll start there. It was a hot wind. Very, very.
Feels like everything in Memphis this time of year. Hot is easy to start there. Yeah.
It was very hot. It was just annoying all week. Really, it was TPC swirlwind. The wind was just kind of all over the place throughout the property. I never, for the most part, I always look at my weather app to see what the wind is supposed to do for that day. But I just bailed by the end of the week. I just started throwing grass up everywhere I went because you couldn't trust the compass because you'd walk down one hole and be down when you get to the next hole, and then that one's downwind and it'd go in the opposite direction. So it just made no sense at times. And with very smallish greens that were fairly firm at times, you could understand, especially when you got in the rough, how difficult it was to make birdies from there.
Let me branch out there just a little bit on the topic of Southwind to just get your thoughts on how it played with the new grassing this week, the new zoysia, the new greens. Like, was it good, or were the greens still a little bit firm?
Yeah.
I think I heard on the broadcast that some of those zoysia lies around the green were still a little bit thin.
Yeah, a little bit thin, but they mowed it down nice and tight. I mean, it's new grass from 13 weeks ago, so the golf course is still really growing into in its infancy stage. But I think the golf course long term will play a little bit easier. They soften out some slopes. They enlarged in the greens by about 400 square feet per each green, just to restore some areas that have kind of gotten smaller over time. So you got some hole locations back, but also it makes greens a little bit bigger for PGA Tour players, which we know if you make them a little bigger, it gets a little easier. They soften up some of the slopes from my memory. I found a couple different times today, I felt like putts were going to break more, and they just didn't break quite as much. The speed of the greens weren't quite as fast as what I typically see. I saw a lot of guys.
Kiss said that during the playoff. It was like they ran like was it 11 or 12? Was his guesstimate?
12 and a half.
12, yeah.
And you can see these greens get wicked fast.
Yes.
And so they weren't quite that this week. And just softening some of the slopes too in this restoration. So it was slightly noticeable, but I think what long term, I think the golf course will play easier because of the zoysia approach areas around the green. I think that's going to be something that is going to be more beneficial for the member play, and that the pros will definitely benefit from better lies, more definitely variety around the greens. But for the most part, when you really don't create a sense of oh crap for a PGA Tour player, when we talk about a grainy Bermuda lie or just that fluffy Bermuda rough that seem to be around the bunker's edges, which now a lot of the bunker edges have all zoysia. So you just get these perfect lies, and it just wasn't that difficult. It looked prettier, and I would have liked it more, but I think it probably will make the golf course play just a fraction easier over time.
It feels like you're telling me we're headed for a TPC Craig Ranch East situation.
No, Southwood's awesome. Dude, this golf course is really awesome. It requires you to it's a little version of Hilton Head. Is the best example of
I would not have guessed that.
There's just so many trees that overhang shots. You got little alleyways that you gotta hit some drivers to be able to find the fairways. Trees are framing the golf course perfectly. It's a little bit of what I miss in a lot of golf courses that cut down trees. Trees shape this golf course in such a beautiful way that you have to hit certain shots to certain flags and have a different wind direction. You got to be in the certain side of the fairway. And when you really see how small these fairways are too, and you realize, okay, you really need to be in this half. We're only talking about a 15-yard area that these guys can fit these drivers in. So when you think about it from that perspective, it's the ultimate test for what I think is fantastic for the PGA Tour, which is precision with driving, make guys make a decision off the tee, jumpy rough that definitely plays a factor. That if you miss the fairway, the rough was it was a problem this week. And if you're in the rough, it's going to be difficult to make birdies. And I think the guys who played the best this week, Tommy Fleetwood was living in the middle of the fairway all week, and that's why he was up there. And of course, other players found, like Scottie was putting really well this week, but his ball striking is always going to be in and around it. JJ Spaun also tee to green was first heading into the final round, and iron proximity, Justin Rose was first. So these guys hit it really well this week.
That's a perfect segue. Because we'll hit pause on the Tommy discussion and get to that in a little bit. But I want to go, unless there's more you want to recap in regulation, I want to go to the 18th tee for the first playoff hole. And I want you to tell me, how in the heck did Justin Rose's drive cover the water there? I mean,
I thought it was done. I thought it was over. I'm standing right behind the tee on the walkway, and I was like, oh, JJ Spaun just won, because where he was going to have to drop, I mean, he's making bogey at best.
Yeah.
It was going to be JJ Spawn's tournament. He could, hit it out to the right side of the green, 2-putt, game over. And I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Quickly want to jump in there. I want you to paint the full picture as well. But I got to say that new graphic NBC's added where it predicts where it's going to go. Like where it goes yellow, green, red, well, it's in the air. I love that thing so much. Whether or not it's right or wrong, the drama of that roller coaster.
It's like a roulette board.
It really is. Like for all the tee shots, again, you can just put any colors on there. You're watching as if you're like, oh, so for Rose's tee shot on that first playoff hole, it's just like dead red. It's going straight at the water. You're like, this is over. He's cooked. And then you're like, how on earth? He just catches that one little part of the bank, rolls right down, stops on the red line. And at that point, you're like, if he has a stance, this game's back on.
I think it makes 10 predictions every millisecond.
Cool.
Which is awesome. I don't understand it.
I love it.
But it's cool. And so were we using that on all the tee shots at 18?
Every tee shot for all the playoff holes.
Which is
so
really
good.
You get to really see how difficult that tee shot is, like from up above, I imagine.
100%. Like, I think it's a good camera angle, and it's, because you're zoomed out, you're just trusting the tracker that's right. And I mean, I even have questions there of like, because a couple of Justin Rose's drives that were borderline fairway first cut, part of that calculation they're trying to do is probably like the firmness of the ground. Like they're predicting where it's going to land and how much rollout it's going to have. Factoring, I guess, his stats. Well, whatever it is, it was pretty close to correct the entire time. But it's in terms of sheer broadcast product, compelling, addition graphically,
it's been a game changer.
It's so good.
I love it. But yeah, you're right. I didn't think he was going to have a stance from walking up because Justin didn't know where the golf ball was because he was already thinking about the drop, and the tour officials told him that it had cleared. So, but even walking up, it still felt like he wasn't going to have a stance. Even earlier in the week, Rickie didn't have a stance on a similar deal and shanked it over there in the hospitality deal. But
that would have been the Charlie Hume play. I know that one well. Little flyer Bermuda lie that I could have reached for and just straight up the hosel. What club did he hit there? Because he was like down to the steel on like 101 yard.
It was
shot.
100 yards. To me, it was probably just a lob wedge.
That's because playing for the jumper there. I can't believe that.
I had to stop quick, and then JJ kind of in the first and second playoff hit similar iron shots to the same spot. In both times I thought he made both putts, and then Justin. It's all running together, honestly. Right. I just remember that Rosie's putt in regulation, couldn't believe he missed that, and then. The putt, I have no idea how that putt in the first playoff hole didn't go in for Rose. I'm right behind him.
Yeah.
Could not believe it.
I mean, they showed a rip of all the putts. Was it the second? I think it was the second playoff hole before they hit their putts on the second playoff hole. And it was like, these guys have been putting from the exact same spot multiple times on 18 today. It was just so wild. I mean, the distances, JJ hit it to the exact same spot. He had 30 feet, 36 feet, and 30 feet, and made the second playoff hole the 30-footer there. And then they go to recut the hole.
Which I like. I like that, by the way.
Oh, I thought it was great, but I'm like, dude, he might hole out from the fairway. Like, they cut the hole where he's hit every single approach shot.
I was going to ask Kiz, I was like, should he just aim like he's like the hole location is on the left edge of the green and then just play it like he's trying to hit it to there? And so that he'll even hit it closer. But I didn't have enough time to joke around. It's playoff times. Playoffs.
Very, very serious. Yeah, I mean, I thought that. I mean, so the first playoff hole, they both make par from those spots. Rose's tee shot barely covers, and they go back, play it again. JJ hits it to 30 feet in a very U.S. Open-esque fashion, jars it, and then Justin's was 7 feet beneath the hole, and that
he jarred
pressure
it too.
Applied. Oh, so good, and I feel like we'll play it forward to the third playoff hole, but. It cannot be easy, you tell me, to watch some guy drop a 30-foot bomb on you and you have a makeable birdie putt. Like, that's a lot of added pressure right there.
Bro, there was some strokes gained dog going on between those two guys. And I think when you get two guys that are executing at a very high level and just insanely ridiculous conditions, which were just so taxing on these guys' mind and body. I can't imagine how they had much left in the tank at the end, but just being able to dig deep. And Justin Rose has done it so many times in his career. That's like he's so good at everything. There's nothing that he's bad at. Every part of his game is at close to a elite level when it's good. And so when he had it going on this week, he's not scared, dude. When he gets that look in his eye, watch out. It's
funny because I had this exact same conversation today with my buddy Alex Hall, where we were just like, for whatever reason, it's not like people say he's had a bad career. It's like he's had this kind of steady, perennial Ryder Cupper, solid career. But you're looking back at the level he's still playing at now, playoff with Rory at the Masters, and just really, I think the most impressive thing is a commitment to the grind. And a lot of guys his age are like, all right, let's go ahead and get ready for Champs Tour. Let's kind of just ride out. And he's still there every single week. I know that the full resume this year, I mean, he missed cuts, I think, at U.S. Open and PGA, but the Masters finished. I think he was maybe top 20. I have to go look at it for the Open Championship. But to play that level of golf at this age and keep grinding for it, I think it's a phenomenal accomplishment that we should probably give him more kudos to.
Well, I even go back to the beginning of Live Golf when it started. He very easily could have made that
Majestics.
Jump. He's a player that had a lot of friends go and play on the Live Golf Tour, and he ultimately decided that he still had some good golf left to play. Does he get the opportunity to play in the Masters this past year and have an opportunity to be in a playoff playing against Rory McIlroy to win a green jacket? Who knows if he has that opportunity if he goes to the Live Golf Tour. So Justin Rose bet on himself. He bet on what he felt like could be a second half of his career that he can milk a lot of talent, the end of this talent that he has. And I liked what he said in his interview too. He said, sometimes I don't need to look at what my age is and know that my body still does move well. I still hit it far enough. I still do everything to a level that can win out here. So he still has that belief, and there's no reason why that this guy's can't go out and still pick off a major next year. He's that good. And he's going to be a problem at the Ryder Cup. It's going to be a big problem.
So, and we can fast forward to this too, but in my brain, as I'm watching that thing finish, maybe we just wrap up quickly on the third hole, where they cut the hole where JJ's been hitting it, and Justin hits it above the hole, which obviously that's kind of a greasy downhiller. I know the greens are maybe running a little slower this week, that 12 range, but I thought Kiz did a great job of setting that scene. He's reading at aim point 2 fingers, so it's to be a lot of break, left to righter, not the most comfortable putt for most guys. Jars that, fist pumps it. JJ runs it underneath, and it was a dramatic conclusion to a really great playoff. But the first thing in my head is like, could this be a preview for a Ryder Cup singles match?
Run it back for sure.
I'd love to see that one again.
What a putt that Rosie hit in that third playoff hole. I mean, he put 2 fingers up into 2 degrees of slope, and I'm sitting here looking at my book, and it just was a perfect read. It hit such a good putt. And then JJ's the putt was so straight, but if anything, it had to wiggle. Like if it was going to wiggle away, it was going to wiggle to the right. But it's a putt that you get over and you're like, gosh, I feel like I have to play break here. It's so easy to miss it, that putt to the left, because you feel like everything has to work towards the water. Because all those putts you think about that he just hit, that he made, or that he close to made one of them. That's just it's a funneled downhill putt. Yeah. And so he's putting to basically, it's the left of that, but everything to the right of him is falling off. So you feel like it has to move that way. I don't know where exactly he started it, but it looked to me right off the thing, it looked like he either started too far left or he pulled it.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to tell me on the poll, but on the broadcast, didn't even scare the hole really. And just again from watching it on TV, it's like if you're looking at Rose's putt that's downhill and it's moving this way, you just assume there's a slope on this side, so it should be just slightly downhill, straight putt. My book
basically showed an arrow pointing right towards the hole. If anything, the arrows were just slightly tilted to the right. So it was going to be a putt. If he wanted to play break, he was going to have to hit it really soft right on the left edge to get it to break. But there's no grain on these greens. When you have the downhill ones,
too young,
you're just not quite going to get maybe a little bit of that break of hitting those putts a little softer to kind of get the grain to help late.
Well, it was a really, really fun playoff to watch. We mentioned the Ryder Cup singles preview. I got a little stat from the PGA Tour recap. When Justin Rose turned pro in 1998, Scottie Scheffler was 2 years old. So another cool factoid, to kind of really
long time,
emphasize how long he's been doing this. So, and these standings are not updated yet. Last week, JJ was third in the point standings for the U.S. team. Justin Rose was eighth. I got to assume with this win, because of the way they're going to weight the money or the points or whatever it is, I'd be shocked if he wasn't top six. But even if he's not, he's nailed on for a pick, right? There's no, especially after that, there's no chance he's not on this team, right?
Dude, that team's done.
Yeah. It's really which Højgaard brother do you want to take at this point, right?
Pretty much. Fitzy's going to be on the team. I mean, it's pretty much whichever Højgaard brother you want.
And caught me in the middle of a very abrupt sip there. And we, we talked a little bit about this before. I want to move to Tommy next, but just, again, wrapping up on JJ of what a great year he's had. Just consistent good play early. The breakthrough win at the U.S. Open. Obviously not sneaking up on anyone at this point, but I just think back to the conversation we had in Pittsburgh after JJ wins at Oakmont, and just what a complete player he is. What a good ball striker he is. And just, wanted to kind of give him flowers again for another clutch performance against a lot of really good players in a playoff event.
Yeah. Dan asked me while JJ was reading his putt, I think it was actually the one right before the putt he made, just asking about, man, he was thinking about quitting the game last year. So it was an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about, where he was last year. He, at one point in the middle of the summer, he had started out the year. We did all this on happy hour, which, by the way, it's a good happy hour week. With JJ coming through and having a good week. But he was 183rd in the FedEx Cup in the middle of the summer and had a decent finish to get to around 150. And so finishes the year with 2 top 10s, the 3M and the Wyndham, to get him inside the top 100, but he's still got to go play the whole fall. Look, there's plenty of guys you can look at right around 100. That's where JJ Spaun was last year. And nobody's talking about him. And the only people that are really noticing are his coaches, family, and friends. And that's literally the JJ Spaun circle of fandom at the time. And I love the guy, but that's just the bottom line. And getting off to that start this year where he looked inflappable at the Sony Open, where he just was not missing a shot. I was like, God, this guy looks freaking awesome. And he just has kept it going the entire year. And just talking to his team this week, it seems like JJ has a tendency to want to go and try to tweak things. I think in his mind, he sees his swing a certain way and that he'll eventually kind of work himself into holes sometimes. And that Adam Schreiber has to kind of keep him on task at hand, because even after the Open Championship, he took 10 days off and then went and just grinded his tail off and kind of showed up to Memphis with where the heck am I with my golf game? And so maybe that's because you're practicing in Scottsdale in 110-degree heat, which apparently JJ was wearing out some golf balls the week leading into into Memphis. But come Wednesday, he had figured it out for the most part by the end of his Wednesday session, but it was all kind of set up, fundamental base stuff where he wasn't necessarily moving that great. But I just find it interesting because so many people are looking for the answer of how did JJ Spaun go from here to here? Well, it just didn't happen overnight. He's got great coaching. He's got a great work ethic. And I think the self-belief just finally caught up to a guy who never really believed himself to this level.
Yeah, that's the intangible piece. I'd love to go back and dive into the stats because I remember statistically, he's always been a great iron player, particularly a great long iron player, which I think is a great indication of if you can hit long irons well, anyone can hit a wedge well on the PGA Tour. If you can hit those long irons well, that's really says something about your ability to play. But yeah, that short game work obviously paying off in a huge way, and then that switch to the lab putter. It just feels like it's unlocked a lot of good play for him. But yeah, I think most importantly, to your point, the self belief of wait, I am one of the best 20, 10, 5 players on earth on my day, It takes a long time for some guys to figure out, and it's taken JJ a long time. But
the results have kind of shown up for him to where why wouldn't you believe in yourself when you've literally gone up against the world's best?
I would like to note, though, just for the record keeping, that I've been on JJ Spaun for quite a while as we sported his button-down Hawaiian shirt for Hope Valley Men's League for our first championship. So like we have been JJ Spaun guys. I just need everyone to know that.
Hey, remember the US Open when we were talking about after the Sunday and we're just like, what the heck happened? And even after I was like, still even JJ Spaun is underrated. And
yes,
how many times have you or I suggested JJ Spaun in our one and done since the US Open? Guess what the answer is? Nada. The guy, he still flies under the radar. It doesn't matter. And at some point, we're going to have to just start believing in JJ Spaun before the week starts.
Well, and I think that has to do with a lot of things. I mean, it's still our fault, but it's like because a lot of these places, there are previews written and odds makers put a line on a guy, and there's data golf, and they're trying to profile the type of player that's going to succeed here based on historical data, of which really prior to this year for JJ, there's not, a ton that's overwhelmingly positive. I mean, he's won before on tour, but I'm just saying like elite tier, like you're going to get shorter than 25-1 odds or whatever.
Well, here's an example. Yeah. So 2022, JJ Spaun is leading the event here in Memphis. And I don't know exactly what event it would have been, but, anyways, he's got a 54-hole lead and goes out and shoots 78 on Sunday. Like that, microcosm of kind of what JJ Spaun's career would be like. He won in Valero, but it was Valero, right? Like it's
right.
Like, I mean, Shriners. I get it.
from one guy who's won. Listen, they're all Shriner's fifth major. Many people call it that.
There you go.
But I really think a lot of it has to do with is we're just not properly profiling him yet. Like, and I don't know when that data catches up, but even today, my buddy Alex, he's like, well, if he wins today, is he going to still need a pick? I'm like, buddy, he's third on the points list. Like he is on that team.
He already got a team. Like he's been announced.
He is fitted. Like he has all his gear. Like he is on that team. And I just think I don't know why it's going to take more time. Maybe it's, it has to do with his persona, but which is, I mean, he's a great guy, just more mild mannered than most, but eventually we're going to have to start adjusting our brains. Like this is one of the best players on earth. And he's shown it to you.
He hits it longer than people think.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you feel like, oh yeah, you put him in a box of like, he doesn't hit it very far. He hits a lot of fairways, but he hits it far enough. And I saw it today, like him playing with Scottie. Scotty's very long, but looking at the stats, I mean, JJ Spaun, like he can move it, man.
So shall we turn the page now to just do a little bit additional analysis of the Tommy Fleetwood situation? I'd like to know, in your opinion, what's it going to take to get him over the line? Maybe a little bit of what we touched on earlier, which is like how much of this is maybe a mental situation. We know he has the game. To your point, first 3 days, almost impossible for him to miss a fairway. Course should be a perfect fit for a guy like him who's a flusher. So is it a mental thing, or is it just getting beat in a lot of these situations by better players? Like what are you chalking it up to now that we've seen this story play out a number of different times? Well,
I think Tommy Fleetwood, and every time he tees it up, he's playing against the world's best. Like he very rarely plays in open field events, 144 guys, where he's going to be the odds-on favorite. He's played in 2, maybe 3 events this year that aren't a signature event or aren't a major championship. So when I think about that, it's, Tommy, when he gets in contention, he's going up against legitimately the best players in the world. Versus, if he played in an open field event throughout the entire year, he would win on the PGA Tour just because he's just better than I guess try to think of the best way to say it. You would think he would win, right? I'm not saying he will win, but you would think he would win just because he's so dang talented. But I think you learn something about yourself every time, whether it's, just being able to handle it. The guy's won plenty of times. We know he can win, but it just hasn't quite worked out. And it seems like the the situation at the 16th and the 17th today where he lost the golf tournament. It was as simple as that. You got to find a way to make birdie at 16. You got to make a par at 17.
Well, and I think, again, just like a lot of that too is you're watching your playing partner and your good buddy just catch fire and you're feeling that pressure in a very immediate sense instead of like a JJ Spaun who's you can look at a scoreboard but he's not there kind of watching with his own two eyes.
You got Scottie in front of you and Jay. I mean there's a lot going on, but I mean he did a good job of staying in his own lane in that backside, and you'd like to see him get off to a little better start it seemed like Saturday and Sunday just never like he found it both days on the back nine a little bit, but it just didn't have that same just firing at flag six like he did on Thursday, Friday, which I mean, he was just all over the flag six the first 2 days.
And I think it's a good point you make too. I wanted to go look at his schedule because basically post tour championship, he just goes and plays DP World Tour until the calendar turns and we're back in the regular PGA Tour season. So if you were trying to profile the, lower, tier events or lower profile events that he plays in this year, it's been basically Valspar, Valero, and Charles Schwab. That's really, I mean, everything else is like it's a signature event.
I was looking at Justin Rose's. So what were the ones he played in?
His lower tier events, if you want to call them that, are Valspar, Valero, and Charles Schwab.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, and all those fields I just mentioned had big names in them. It wasn't as stocked as like a signature event or a major, but like to your point, you got to play like really good golf to beat the best players in the world. And when he's doing it with always stacked fields, it just becomes harder. Yeah. For me, I'm just curious to quickly get your thoughts on this. Like, I don't think this has any real impact on him in a Ryder Cup context because obviously it's completely different in a team setting, partnered competition.
You feel even better about him, dude. He's striping it. Guy's so good.
Okay, so we are going to move it to looking at the back end of the bubble, the 50 in and out. But Smylie, I have a big update for you. I had to get this in the notes. The Shipsticks winners were announced.
Oh,
we have names. Okay, so the grand prize winner, Aaron M. from Los Angeles, California, and Bob P. from Perry, Ohio. So
wait, Perry, Ohio, really?
Yeah, is that like a
I've
place
been
I know?
there?
Give us 15 to 30 seconds on Perry, Ohio.
Played a 9-hole course there. Went there with one of our neighbors, Mike Dunphy. He's from Perry, Iowa. I think I'm actually a member at a golf course in Perry, Iowa.
Perry, Ohio.
Oh, it's Ohio?
Ohio.
Oh, you said Iowa.
No, I said Ohio. I definitely said Ohio.
Well,
we'll check the tape. Let us know in the comments. Did I say Ohio or Iowa?
Dude,
anyway, Perry.
I'm not working with much right now, by the way.
It is 11:54 p.m. Eastern time. We got to wrap this show quickly, but I'll just also shout out the Shipsticks runners up. John D. from Huntersville, North Carolina. Sean W. from Troy, Michigan. Randy L. from Hiawassee, Georgia. I think I got that right. Ashley N. from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Richard J. from Menifee, California. And Rick S. from Coppell, Texas. Hope you enjoy your trip to Ireland.
Bang, bang.
Shout out Chipsticks. I'm about to get I got my little brother to ship me my bag from Florida so I can get it dialed in when I go out to the Walker Cup. Play a little. So got to reconfigure, move some putters around, and I'm going to ship 6 of those bad boys out to the West Coast. Okay. FedEx Cup bubble. I guess not so much a bubble, but moving from 70 to 50. The 5 players that moved in this week: Kurt Kitayama, Bud Cauley, Rickie Fowler, Johnny Vegas, and JT Poston. The 5 who move out and, of course, miss out not only on the BMW Championship, but qualification for signature events in 2026. Aldrich Potgieter, Jordan Spieth, Jake Knapp, Wyndham Clark, Minwoo Lee. That moving out category is a real bummer, as I love all 5 of those guys. But before we talk about them, how about Rickie? We were talking about this before, on his grind, he's been home like a handful of days this year. He's just been playing all this golf and gets rewarded for his efforts with signature event status in 2026.
Yeah, that's my favorite storyline. I mean, I'm just so proud of Rickie and his fight this week, and really just over the last second half of the season. The game's been trending up, but a lot of times you're playing, you feel like you're playing well and don't get anything out of it, you're not rewarded. So the fact that Rickie stepped up today and played a good round of golf on a day where he had to, it was awesome to see. And he's, like you said, he's been home 11 days since April, I think. So
That's
just
insane.
having your family on the road, I'm sure he's going to be happy to feel like he earned that time off this fall, feeling like he doesn't need to play at all just to get ready to get reset for next year. So I'm hoping and excited for him that it feels like next year he can plan his schedule a little bit better to where, you feel like when you show up, you're ready to win, because it takes a lot of mental energy to win golf tournaments. And when you're playing week to week, especially the older you get and the more kids you have, it's hard to keep that energy week to week. So super pumped for him. And I'm looking for a big year out of him. I'm excited.
And the other one on that list too is like, even though he never won, we picked him a couple times, like Bud Cauley.
Yeah.
Signature events for a comeback year. That's massive. That's a really, really cool story.
So pumped for Bud. He's another player too that was he got status at the Players Championship this past year, locking up status coming off of a medical. Getting that secured was so huge for him, knowing he had status for this past year. So Bud's taking advantage of it, and he's such a good player too. He's so fun to watch. There's nothing technically wrong with anything that he does in his game. It's like so satisfying. You just wish, he's like, why does it look so easy? Like, and he's always made it look easy. He's a great guy too.
Well, so those are the positives. Man, that's a bummer of a list. You're looking at like Jordan, Jake, Wyndham, Minwoo. That's a pretty crowded house looking for sponsor exemptions into those signature events if they are not in the next 10 or swing 5 category next year. Does it feel like any of these guys are going to play a substantial amount of fall golf to try to hold their spot in that next 10, or what's your read on that right now?
I could see Pocky definitely going out and playing, just the young guys. I don't see Minwoo going to play that much.
Knapp, maybe, yeah.
Maybe Knapp. Knapp might want to get healthy a little bit. He'll probably play some. I don't see Jordan playing a ton. He very well could play a couple events if he feels like he needs to, just to see if he wants to get the next 10 category. But he's a player that it just feels that even it's just hard to believe any event wouldn't want Jordan to go play. I know that goes against everybody's opinion of what the PGA Tour is. It's that would be more of a closed shop, type of system. And that's what all the live people argue against the PGA Tour, but then don't have sponsors exemptions.
I mean, there are only 4 of them, and we know how this is going to go. Like there's going to be all sorts of up in arms every single time we have a signature event. There's going to be a new think piece about why it's the worst thing in the world. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, this is also an entertainment product, right? Like part of how we keep the lights on here is putting players in these fields that people care about. So they pay for a ticket to go watch them, or they turn on the TV so the television rating goes up so you can sell, an ad at a higher price than you would because they want to see Jordan Spieth on the TV. Like all these things, for better or worse, are part of the ecosystem that keeps this game functioning and pays all these people and helps it run at a high level. So, and you're talking about a multiple time major champion who's on the mend from like a wrist surgery. Like I think, it's a bummer that he missed out narrowly, but this is still a guy that is, gotten healthy over the course of the year and started playing some good golf there and multiple stretches. So like, I don't have a problem with it, but multiple people inevitably will.
Yeah, totally. So we'll see on that, but yeah, bummer for Jordan not to get through. He's a guy that, we just talked about Rickie, how he's a player that feels like he's been playing better golf and then got some results and was able to get through, where I feel like Jordan just felt like he would take 2 steps forward and then one step back. It always felt like he never had like that crazy good round this year, and never really felt like he was able to put an entire tournament together. Just not being able to be consistent enough to have the really high finishes that Jordan was looking for to have. Just never quite got in contention as much. He talked going into the Wyndham that he feels as good about his game as ever. But he'll still need – it's not going back to the drawing board. It's just to continue to show up next year with the confidence of this is my DNA. This is what I'm going to do. And, not to tweak too much and just to go play creative golf and trust that his stuff's good enough.
And then just quickly on Wyndham and Minwoo, first of all, as a Bay Golf Club fan, I'm heartbroken. Maybe this gives him more time to get in the team lab. But it was a weird year for Wyndham, and it looked like he kind of had it turned around a little bit. And then this is just a tough sort of conclusion to that year for him. And I think you can pretty much say now he will not be on that Ryder Cup team. And Minwoo, this is a breakthrough win this year on tour. Feels like he's turning in the right direction. The same sort of thing. He's inside to start the week and just, inexplicable, just the, a couple bad rounds to get it started and can't turn the thing around in time to make top 50. It's a bummer.
Yeah, definitely. Min didn't have a very good week this week at all. Finishing last, played in 2 hours and 10 minutes today. So credit to Min there. Got out on a very quick flight. But Wyndham, caught a little, heat obviously with all the stuff that happened earlier this year. His game caught fire late in the year, and this just isn't necessarily the best golf course for him. He's played here well before, but it's a golf course. If he would have made it to next week, I would have felt good about his chances to make it to East Lake, but just coming up short.
All right, my final prompt for you. It is so late. It's now Monday, where I'm living here in Durham, North Carolina. Is just the Rory situation. Obviously, skipped this week. It looked for a second like he might drop to third behind JJ Spaun, but holds that second spot as JJ loses that playoff with Justin Rose. We talked about this again off air. Is like any reason for him to play the BMW other than tune up for the Tour Championship and making more money, which he already has a lot of.
You're talking about Roars? Yeah. He normally plays tune up before big events. So, yeah, expect to see him there.
Well, I mean, he's obviously going to be there, but I guess just, yeah. Listen, we could do the whole playoff structure conversation another time. It is time for both of us to go to sleep. We appreciate y'all watching and listening as always, and come right back here on Wednesday, I guess, for the Ian Baker Finch conversation. We're very much looking forward to.
I've been scrolling up and down the leaderboard trying to find Wyndham Clark's name for the last 10 minutes, it feels like, and I still haven't found his name. Are we sure Wyndham Clark played this week? Dude, my brain is literally gone to mush.
Oh my! I hope you're not gonna be mad at me for revealing the behind the scenes here, but on your drive home, and you're like, "What? How did Adam Scott play this week?" Well, he probably played a lot of really fun golf in Switzerland.
There he is. I found him.
We got him. We located him.
Didn't play good today.
Did not play good. That's all the golf talk we can do tonight. So we'll see you back here soon.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our local fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too. So please keep it up.
For all the good people of YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the